Hey everyone, listen, if you always know when someone is lying, you absolutely have to watch this. Seriously, if you've ever felt that, well, that hidden kind of exhausting burden of being overly perceptive, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating psychological phenomenon in this explainer. We're going to explore what actually happens when your brain is hardwired to see the stuff that everyone else just completely misses. We'll look at the heavy toll it takes on you and, most importantly, how to take that crushing weight and transform it into a tool of, well, profound wisdom. Let's get into it.
Picture this. You're sitting right across from someone. They're smiling, they're saying all the right things, everything seems fine. And yet, something inside of you just goes totally quiet and cold. Not because anything visibly obvious is wrong, but because your brain has already caught on to something their words are desperately trying to hide. Maybe it's a smile that doesn't quite reach their eyes, or, I don't know, a voice that pitches up just half a tone at exactly the wrong second. You can't necessarily explain it, and you definitely can't point to hard evidence, but the reality is, you know. You always know. And that involuntary, exhausting flash of spotting a fake, literally before your conscious brain even has time to process it, is hands down one of the heaviest things a person can carry.
So here is our roadmap for today. 1. The burden of knowing. 2. The science of perception. 3. 3 psychological traps. 4. Principles that change everything. And 5. From awareness to wisdom. We're not just going to sit around dwelling on the pain here. We're going to lay out the exact principles you need to manage it.
Okay, part 1, the burden of knowing. Let's talk about the reality of seeing through people.
Think about when a coworker says to you, "Oh, I'm really happy you got that promotion," but their voice pitches up and this fleeting, tiny shadow crosses their face. Instantly, your brain sends a red alert signal, data error. The words and the body do not match. It's not just about playing detective and catching a lie. It's about watching the social mask just dissolve right in front of you. You look at a boss who's yelling, and instead of seeing authority, what do you see? You see a person terrified of losing control. You see the raw, unfiltered insecurity underneath.
Moving right along to Section 2, the science of perception. Let's look under the hood.
Look, this isn't some mystical superpower or a magical sixth sense. It's actually a very specific combination of cognitive processes running at incredibly high speeds. The first one is called thin slicing. This is basically your brain's ability to extract highly accurate information from tiny amounts of data in just a fraction of a second. Crucially, your brain is seamlessly vacuuming up this lightning-fast data from your environment long before you even consciously realize you're doing it. It's wild.
And that brings us to the second process, the detection of incongruence. This is that automatic recognition that the words and the body are telling two completely different stories. Psychologist Paul Ekman actually spent decades studying this, focusing heavily on what he called microexpressions. These are tiny, involuntary facial movements that flash by in less than a 25th of a second, literally a blink of an eye. Most average brains, they just don't register them at all. But the highly perceptive brain, it registers almost nothing else. It instantly flags the suppressed emotion right before the polished, controlled version takes over.
It's kind of like, imagine you're watching a play. The average brain is just an audience member happily watching the stage, totally believing whatever the actors are saying. But the perceptive brain? Oh, it's watching the curtain behind the stage. It notices the broken props, the prompter's nervous hand, the sweat on the actor's brow that definitely wasn't in the script. It sees the raw, messy mechanics holding the whole performance together.
Section 3, 3 psychological traps. Now this is where having this ability can actually get pretty dangerous.
If you aren't careful, this level of perception can quietly take a massive toll on you. Here are the 3 traps we're going to walk through. Trap 1, the Cassandra curse. Trap 2, seeing threats everywhere. And Trap 3, holding others' truths.
Let's break these down. Trap 1 is the Cassandra curse. You know Cassandra from Greek mythology, right? She could see the future, but her curse was that literally no one would ever believe her. Well, that is the modern experience of the perceptive person. Human society totally runs on this unspoken contract of polite fictions and wearing masks. So when you point out the truth, like, say you notice a charismatic new coworker is actually super manipulative, or a friend's new date is massively overcompensating, you disrupt that social contract. And because you don't have hard evidence, just your perception, pointing it out makes you look like the villain. People project their discomfort right back onto you, calling you negative or cynical. It's incredibly frustrating.
And then we fall into Trap 2, seeing threats everywhere. When your trust in others starts to erode, observation stops being a helpful tool and morphs into a weapon. Confirmation bias just kicks into overdrive. Suddenly, a partner's tired eyes aren't just fatigue, your brain translates it as proof of boredom. A late text message? Evidence of shifting priorities. A sudden gift? Oh, they must be compensating for something. You start building this elaborate internal architecture of worst-case scenarios, tricking yourself into believing that if you can just predict the betrayal, it'll hurt less. But the real cost? Unconditional trust just completely disappears.
Which brings us to the heaviest burden of all. Trap 3. Holding others' truths. You watch a situation unfold. Maybe it's a marriage built on a really unstable foundation, or a colleague being slowly eaten alive by a toxic workplace, and you know there is absolutely nothing you can say. So you just stay quiet. And the weight of all those unspoken truths slowly fills up the room like water. But here's the cruelest part. Because you are so good at reading what everyone else needs, you provide it for them. In return, though, no one reads you. The world just assumes you're way too strong to actually need anything yourself. Ultimately, the one who understands everyone becomes totally invisible.
So what does this all mean? We arrive at a really critical question. How on earth do we carry this without breaking? If you've been nodding along, recognizing yourself in these traps, I want you to know something. That exhaustion, that deep loneliness you're feeling, it is entirely real. You've been carrying a capacity that nobody ever prepared you for. But listen to me, you do not have to stay stuck here.
All right, Section 4, principles that change everything. Let's pivot from the problem to the solution. We're shifting our focus now from what you see to how you choose to respond to what you see. Step 1, strategic ignorance. Step 2, accept masks. Step 3, the present moment.
Let's dive into Principle 1. Strategic ignorance. This is a game changer. You absolutely have to separate truth from responsibility. Just because you clock a coworker putting on a totally fake persona does not mean it's your job to fix it. Ask yourself, does this affect me directly? Do I actually need to intervene to protect someone? If the answer is no, practice treating that observation like a cloud just passing across the sky. Let it go. Your perception is a tool to help you navigate safely. It is definitely not a mandate to act as the universe's hall monitor and correct the whole world.
Principle 2 is to accept masks. We cause ourselves so much suffering because we hold people to this standard of absolute 100% authenticity that they simply can't meet. There is a massive, crucial difference between predatory deception, which are lies specifically meant to manipulate or harm, and a survival mask. That person bragging too loudly at the party, probably just a kid inside who is never validated. The super cold, aloof person, terrified of betrayal. When you realize that most of the masks people wear are just private fictions, keeping them from completely collapsing, your disgust naturally softens into this rare, really powerful kindness. You aren't being fooled, you just understand.
And Principle 3 brings us to this vital number, 80. You have to give the present moment permission to be enough. Look, the perceptive mind acts like a detective, always trying to eliminate future pain. But think about the math here. It just doesn't work out. If your perception tells you there's a 20% chance something could end badly, and you spend your entire life living inside that 20% threat assessment, you are totally surrendering the 80% of the present moment that is real and good and literally happening right in front of you. You have to intentionally practice being unanalytical sometimes, just so you can actually experience your life rather than constantly examining it. Finally, Section 5, from awareness to wisdom. Let's bring it all together.
This is the ultimate transformation of all that cognitive heavy lifting. When you apply these principles, your perception doesn't just vanish, it evolves. You stop being this cold, calculating machine cataloging every single flaw in the people around you, and instead you become a lighthouse. Think about that. You still see the rocks, you still see the dangerous, swirling currents beneath the surface, but instead of panicking or judging, you just use that knowledge to navigate the waters calmly. You protect yourself, you protect your people without needing to announce to everyone what you see and without needing anyone to validate or believe you. You move from an exhausting state of pure awareness into quiet, grounded wisdom.
Make no mistake, this level of perception is a brutal gift. But it can also be the most extraordinary thing about you once you learn how to carry it differently. So I want to leave you with this thought to mull over. Which of those 3 traps we talked about today lives closest to your own experience? Take a second to really reflect on that. And hey, if there's someone in your life who always just seems to know things before they're said, consider sharing the